when IAMs bring out an emotional response, right? That is, to me, makes a set special. There's not too many times where I go a full recommendation. I go, you got to go out and buy this. But if you have listened to the thew, if you understand my preferences, I'm telling you, this is an incredible IAM. It's a different sounding IAM than 99% of what's out there. Please don't call this Harmonish at all. That's disappointing. It isn't. It is its own special sauce. The Kinera Freya 2, to me, has a special place in my heart. This was a unit that was supplied to Canucks Audioholics review group from HiFiGo, and we're thanking you very much. My ears are thanking you, and my heart is ripped out from these IAMs. So, thank you. Hello, I'm in love. Just thought I'd share that with you. Hello. Let me talk a little bit about the goddess of love, Freya. Now, I got to tell you that if you've never bought a Kinera IAM before, you're in for one hell of a presentation. Nobody does it better, in my opinion, from any company at any price point. The whole packaging and the theme that goes along with each individual IAM, whether it be the Loki, and in this case now, the other Norse god Freya. Love and beauty are at my command. Freya 2.0, 4-driver hybrid system, individually hand-painted IEM shell. It goes further. I mean, not... okay. This thing is $269, so it's not mega buck, right? But the amount of details that went into this, at some point you would say, I wish they wouldn't have put so much boxing and packaging and stuff like that. I don't think you're going to say that in this case. Some things that I love the storyline. And you could go for days. And I love it. Just reading about the IAM and the storyline, the background, the tuning concept, all of it. Okay? Specifications are all here. I do want to do a shout out to Cynthia. Cynthia is the lead artist at Kinera Audio. She designed the Freya 2. And this little blurb says, in her words, "In my eyes, the Freya 2 is way more than a product. Besides her captivating sound," she's talking about Freya, "her enchanting beauty, she is infused with vibrancy and passion, blooming vibrant light even in the darkness. Freya is the goddess of love in Norse mythology, often associated with femininity and spring. So I have primarily chosen blue to convey her beauty and adding a bit of gold touch to symbolize her luxurious life. Wonderful. That is very cool. So Freya was also not just the goddess of love, but she was also the goddess of war and gold as well. So there you go, a little trivia for you there. And this is mind-blowing, okay? 7mm dynamic driver. Actually, if I would have said all of this later at the end, the configuration, you probably would have been even more wowed. And 3 Knowles BA. What does the 7mm dynamic driver consist of? Like, what is it? Yes, the 3 Knowles BA. The copper alloy cable. What's the alloy? Yeah. The rest of the unboxing is absolutely pretty fantastic as well. I mean, so many tips. You do not need to buy any more tips. You should be able to find something in here. Absolutely. Now, let's keep going on the Freya. Cable that comes with it is a modular, funky. Okay, so even the theme of the cable, they could have chosen a standard. It looks like a graphene cable, but there's a blue hue to it in the cable. Now, if that isn't a detailed touch, nothing is. Yes, the IMs are absolutely stunning. Blue, gold. It goes further into where you would normally see a clear resin shell. They actually have the color blending into the shell as well, like Kinera. Stand out, stand out, stand out. Something to note, this nozzle is 6.3 something millimeters. It's a fat nozzle. Though, I don't seem to have problems with any tips, and in fact, what you see here is a JVC spiral dot, which, if we looked into the bore, full wide bore. I love wide bore more than anything else. So I'm just going to continue on with gushing about the design, first of all. So the cable is gorgeous, tangle-free, modular. Probably one of the nicest cables. I love the thew Falcon Pro 2, and this cable is also fantastic. I mean, the modular ends are tight. Again, designed well, where when you pull it out, you don't pull out the 4.4 I'm using in this case. The 2-pin cable is also a flush one. Nicely written with right and left. You know me. I love that. So, and it's not even like, sometimes you get cables and they're like a recess cable where the end sticks out too, where it could put undue stress on the shell. In this case, well thought out again. The shells are small. So, designed by a lady, and she probably thinks also that it'd be nice if all the other ladies could wear this as well. My daughter saw these, and I almost didn't get a chance to review them, right? It was... when they go into your ear, the shell shape is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Super isolation. You can look at my ugly hairy ears and see that they do fit nicely. I used a pretty short spiral dot tips, and it helped me get a great stage. And I love the presentation overall with these tips. And I did the same thing, like I always do, whether it be my sources, it be what have you. And my first thing that I do is tips. The second thing I do is play around with sources. And the third thing would be cables. In this case, this cable went on, it never came off. Sometimes I play with cables just to try and hone or fix or bring out or change. I don't do any of that. I mean, there's no tuning switches. There is no replaceable nozzles. There is nothing. It's, you throw some tips on. I do use the 07 tips as well. I could have used the ones in there. They're very similar to the JVC spiral dots, but these are super comfy for me, so I use them. Got to say something else. In Kinera, if you wanted this to be customized, you could do that. From $35 to all the way up to $250 USD to make it a CIEM, you can do that as well. Full customization, whether it be a logo, whether it be a different faceplate, whether it be a different shell, or full CIM. It's all available to you on their website as well. My listening impressions through on this rest of this review will be done with the spiral dots, with the stock cable, with the Shandling M8 DAP. And let's talk a little bit about how these bad boys sound. So I'm not going to pull up a graph yet. Okay. The bass. Okay, let's go back a bit. If you've ever watched my PENON Fan 2 video, you know how emotional I got with that IM. I truly, truly love that IM. And at the end of this video, I am also going to do a comparison to that because it is one of my all-time favorite IMs. 280 bucks. Sometimes you could get it on sale for half of that. I still thought it was worth the full 280. This one's coming in at 270. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. There's not too many times where I go a full recommendation. I go, you got to go out and buy this. But if you have listened to the FanDo, if you understand my preferences, I'm telling you, this is an incredible IM. Just reading the little box little thing there says, make it clear, make it real. Keep it real, right? The bass. My notes. I'm going to read some of my notes because, and these were done completely sober, by the way. How is this possible with a 7mm dynamic driver? It is a dynamo. It's a Monk quote right there. It's impactful. Plays whatever you throw at it. I put some Drake on. I just happened to have in my DAP and it came on and started doing some rap and I was like, hell yeah. I didn't think it would do it. It absolutely did it. Not a whimper. And then I turned up the volume just to see and push it. Full on. The thing that surprises me the most, this probably has to be my absolute favorite dynamic driver in any IM I have ever listened to. Just because of its tonality. Like I just came off the thew Falcon Ultra. Though I kept calling it the Pro. But this is, I love this dynamic driver. Now it's not a single dynamic driver. It's a very cohesive hybrid. But this little 7mm is unbelievable. The transient response that it can do from full stop to full on, full extension, deep and authoritative. They attack and decay. Now, if you have heard this or don't quite understand what that means, what I mean by that is in a dynamic driver, some are mushy, some are uncontrolled, some just don't have the right tonality. The attack is when it's putting out the bass note and the decay. So do you hear the resonance? Do you hear the drum skins? Do you hear secondary resonance? Do you hear the musicality of the bass? Stereo bass, right? I said that in the Fan 2 thing too, where the bass was so fantastic. You could hear Phil Collins playing the drums and it in stereo effect, and this does it but better. the secondary resonances off of the hits, off of the bass hits, are lovely. It's a good word. The mids. So this IM, though it doesn't look like it on a graph, is very, very balanced. The PENON Fan 2 was very balanced in its overall presentation, and the Freya 2 is just like that. Though when you first look at a graph, this IM doesn't sound like that at all. There's a whole lot more bass than it appears on the graph, and because of that, it sounds like to your ears, there's a whole, I wouldn't say because if you look at a graph, it's like a whole bunch of treble and upper mids, but it's not the case, because that little driver is doing so much when it needs to add in fantastic sound that it doesn't sound overly forward in the mids, and it doesn't sound too bright. The mids are very balanced. They're not forward, they're not recessed, they're perfectly neutral. And in their tonality wise, even with a slightly warmer DAP, I found that I could get them to sound bang on neutral, like no coloration of the mids, but I liked them better with this slightly warm coloration of the Shandling M8 8KM 4499. It added a hint of warmth, and I really, really like that. And it made the vocals in the playback very, very smooth and natural sounding. That was key. When it came to instrumentals, and I'll talk about that too, instrumentals sound great. Cellos, drums, guitars, electric guitars, all sounded double kicks, pedal, awesome. Let's talk about the highs. So for me, up until I heard the Loki, I heard the word Kinera, and I had flashbacks of one of the first IMs I had that got hugely recommended to me, and I tried it, and it was the BD005 Pro. It was a great sounding IM for 20 minutes for me until I couldn't take the fatiguey high end. And when I thought of Kinera, I honestly still have flashbacks to that. Even seeing this graph, I was like, not sure. I will tell you something big time. Now, I think Kinera has grown up a lot. They've evolved, they've learned, they've listened, and their tuning just is getting better and better. If you ever get a chance to listen to the Loki, please do so. Wow. This is a mini wow for 1/10 of the price. Their tunings are now very, very well rounded. From the Loki to the Freya to trickling down and wonderful. The highs are really detailed still, sparkly, and have a wonderful, full, balanced, and smooth upper energy up into the mids, the upper mids, and then finally into the highs. It really brings out all the details in instrument strings, just like the mids and the upper mids. They present you with a perfect amount of energy for a fun and energetic replay without causing, there's no fatigue, even extended listening periods. This is a wonderful IM, though it's not as much of a chill IM because you're having so much fun listening to it that I wouldn't chill out to it. It's just a really fun listen to it. And again, when IMs bring out an emotional response, right? That is, to me, makes a set special. The Kinera Freya 2, to me, has a special place in my heart. Absolutely. Micro. So that being said, there is some things that you should know. Micro and macro dynamics take a bit of a backseat, meaning with a more balanced tuning like this one, you don't get absolutely top of the line kind of level of replay and definition, though this IM performs and competes well above other IMs that I've heard of in a much, much higher price bracket. I hate that saying, punches above. I don't like that saying. But from listening to tons of IMs and being disappointed with some stuff, lots of stuff, majority of stuff, this is a standout. Now, I mean, and again, I'm being super, super picky to give you my honest opinion, so you don't pick up this set after me being all emotional and gushy about the set and picking it up and going, well, it's not very, you know, it doesn't have the greatest micro and macro dynamics. And if you're not sure what that means, it means in quiet passages. So I'm listening to Azure Polo, and I'm listening to a violin concerto No. 2, and I'm listening to the quiet passages, and when it ramps up, Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, another brick in the wall. Again, what a wonderful, wonderful replay, but the overall dynamics of the song, where it goes from the soft passages and then it ramps up into the loud passages and adds excitement and dynamics into the mix, it's not world leading, right? I mean, by the Loki, right? That's why it's $2,500, $2,600. But for its price point, you cannot fault this IM. Same deal with the stage. Now, it's not class-leading stage. It's not micro. It's not 3D. It's not. It's more intimate stage. It has great width, but the height and the depth for me were average. Now, I could probably have played around with more tips and used like the thew S&S stage and sound. And if you do that and get it a deeper fit, you probably get more of the 3D stage, but this is the way I enjoyed it. And I wasn't looking for that out of this set. I have other sets that do that. And I wasn't trying to look for that in this set. So I'm sorry if these impressions aren't, because you'll be different from me if you use different tips and stuff too. So, but this is the way I really love the Freya 2. And that's what I'm sharing with you. The resolution is also not top notch, right? So, and again, if you've watched my videos, you'll know that like the Plunge Audio Unity for me has the absolute most incredible resolution I've heard in any IM. The plucks, the guitar strings, the bow on the violin strings, or it's just top class. Though the Freya 2 did it, and you could pick out that it wasn't bringing it forefront. It wasn't one of the strong suits of the Freya 2, right? I mean, at $269, again, I'm not pulling this apart, and I absolutely adore this IM for what it is and not what it isn't. Okay. If you so I'm gonna note, like, the replay with accurate realism, if you listen to like D from Ozzy Osbourne, it was missing the pickup of and the nuances of the finger slides and the pulls. I know it's there. I've heard it in many different IMs. Did it make the replay less enjoyable? No, not at all. And again, it just makes this a fun sounding IM. I hope that kind of makes sense a bit about the thing and sound. So I'll also pull up a graph, put it in the corner here, and you can kind of get a bit of a thing. And let me pull that up, and just so we can talk about the same thing, right? So, and then when I'm discussing it with you, let's talk about the frequency graph just for a flash in this little segment. So looking at it, it looks like sub bass over mid bass. And it looks like about 4 dB less than the top of the PENON, which peaks at around 4K. It's got a sub-bass glide into the mid-bass. It levels out around 400 hertz. It's relatively flat up until 900. Then it starts to have a very, very gentle PENON. And it looks like a little hill. And there's no peaky stuff going on. It's just a nice gentle glide up until about 4K, and then another gentle glide back down. And it really doesn't lose too much energy until about 8K, where it starts to drop off, but it still has energy out there. The strong suit of this IM is definitely this next part. So let's move into some track impressions to give you a little bit more of how I heard this IM and what you can expect. Bittersweet Symphony, live from at the BBC, London Grammar, standout vocals. I love my vocals. I love my female vocals over my male vocals, but I'm telling you that these are pitch perfect tonality wise for me. It's the way I heard it. At the end of this, I'm also going to do a comparison with the same track and how I heard the Fan 2 sound. So mid-centric. How would I describe the Freya 2? It'd be, I don't know if I would call it a mid-centric. The mids are absolutely fantastic, but there's just the bottom end can keep up. And the top end. So I think I would just call this more of a balanced tuning. Absolutely. And it's a wonderful looking on paper, but it's a bit deceiving because that bass and that bass glide doesn't give you the idea. So anybody who thinks they can tell you what an IM is going to sound like from a piece of paper, you're wrong. Because the bass on this is what I love about IMs the most. And the perception of mid-bass and bass is correlating to how it presents into the mix and brings it overall. With more mid-bass over sub-bass, and because this little 7mm is so speedy, even the lower bass, even 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hertz sounds speedy and weighted, which is really cool. And it sounds like even more mid-bass, but some of that is still transitioning into lower bass, and when a lower bass note hits, it goes even lower, and you're like, oh, I didn't know it could even do that. But I was happy with the way it was. And again, that really gentle glide up into the mids and the upper mids and the highs is just a brilliance of tuning. It really is. It's a different sounding IM than 99% of what's out there. Please don't call this harmonish at all. That's disappointing. It isn't. It is its own special sauce. There is some IMs like it, and we'll talk about the Fan 2 in a minute, because when I put this in my ears, it reminded me of that. So where was I going with the track impressions? I was going with track impressions, and I'll delete that first part, and let's go back again. Bittersweet Symphony live version, BBC, London Grammar, was absolutely standout vocals. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I love my female vocals prioritized over male vocals, but they're pitch perfect tonality wise, even a little bit warm because that's the way I love it with the Shandling M8. Now, the Never Give Up by Sia, so another vocal track. Female vocals like Sia work great with this tuning, absolutely great with this tuning. And the nice thing about the Freya 2 is it doesn't favor male or female vocals one over the other. Some IMs add too much weight on the bottom with the mid bass, and it bloats the mid bass, and it artificially kind of adds in too much husk to female vocals. Well, in this case, it certainly didn't. Female vocals sound perfect, and same as male vocals also have. So there's that fine balance in the tuning, and they've mastered it. They hit it with this one. Closer from the Kings of Leon. So now male vocals. Male vocals are just as good as the female vocals, and as natural as you know, whether it be Sia or London Grammar or any of the female vocals. Where the Freya 2 has a little bit different is, if again it's that nuances, it's the micro details, and where if you listen to Melissa Etheridge and you get her vocal tonality, but you're missing some of that little grit and the edge. Kind of softens it a little bit. That's it for just a little bit of the how I heard the Freya 2. What I kind of want to talk about now in this next section is just how this compares to one of my all-time favorite IMs, the PENON Fan 2. Listening to those same tracks, just to give you an idea. So versus the Fan 2. The Fan 2 does stage a little bit better, absolutely does. You can pick that out. But the Freya is smoother and more complete. I think I wrote that a bunch of times in my track impressions. And the bass also goes lower with the Freya 2, and it's more weighted. Those two 6mm dynamics with the Fan 2 do a phenomenal job on mid bass, but where the weak point of that IM was transitioning down to lower bass and sub bass, where it just kind of pooped out and lost its energy, where the Freya 2 does not. It's not afraid to go there at all. That other track, Never Give Up by Sia, where I love the female vocals of the Freya 2, how did it do against the Fan 2? Because the Fan 2 has more upper energy because it has less bass. Now this was kind of and I didn't pick this up when I listened to the Fan 2, and even when I still pick it up, it's not until you do an A-B comparison where you get a really good idea of the sound profiles of one to the other. So when I picked up the Fan 2 and I listened to the same track, I go, oh, that's interesting. I hear a bit of a metallic timbre where I never picked that up before, and I think I said in my review that there was none of that because I didn't hear it. But I hear it compared to the Freya 2, where compared to the Fan 2, I hear a metallic timbre in the BAs where I don't hear that in the Freya 2. And it wasn't until I did A-B where I could actually pick that up from the other. And the bass sounds sharper with the F2 because of those two sixes, but the Freya 2 sounds more natural, more organic. Freya 2 wins. From that track Closer from the Kings of Leon, and I was listening to male vocals, so how did the male vocals do again on the Freya versus the Fan 2? Well, the Freya does it way more organically again. It's just as fast in the bass response, but again, it goes deeper. And the vocals sound, again, more natural on the Freya 2. The Fan 2, that was my note. It just didn't sound as natural sounding as it came across as the Freya 2 portrayed the male vocals. Compared to the Fan 2, the vocals on the Fan sound almost forced, where they sound flowing, and if that makes sense, in the Freya 2. Overall, between the two IMs, the Freya 2 is a complete upgrade. Yes, I was doing this comparison, but it really isn't. It's not a side grade. It's an upgrade. Overall, just a more finished, more balanced, nicer tuned, balanced tuning. And that leads me into my conclusion. My overall thoughts on the Freya 2, you know, between the outstanding unboxing, the storyline, and the complete transfer of not just the thought process, the design process, and the sound signature process throughout. From the unboxing, it's complete. From the unboxing to the sound, it is a complete package, and not too many IMs will give you that, and certainly not at $270. The design, the story, everything transfers down into what you hear, and what you hear is bass for me that doesn't get any better. It's not a bass head IM. You notice I didn't say that, but I love this bass more than any other IM I've heard. The way it presents and the way it hits and slams, and just can get authoritative when it needs to, and be quiet and respectful when it's not. And again, that same thing just translates into the mids and the upper mids and the highs. I mean, so unoffensive, but yet fun and energetic. That's the best way I can describe the Freya 2. A complete package. It's wonderful. Yes, I'm highly recommending it. Put it in your stable. It's not crazy expensive. If this was a $2,700 IM, I would be afraid of saying that. But I don't think this is going to offend anybody. I think as an all-rounder, it's pretty damn fantastic. For all genres that I listen to, I didn't find fault. I didn't find breakups. I didn't find it bagged out. I didn't find any of that. What I just found was fun, energetic, balanced, across the board, and a wonderful, wonderful experience. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, much love.